I think that this chapter 3 is possibly the easiest and yet at the same time the hardest to teach. Although, as you can see from key terms, there are a few phrases, a few key terms that are special and need to be learnt, particularly so that you can talk smartly about external environment. A lot of it feels very much like common sense. The important thing to remember is that while it is easy to list off external environmental factors of a company, the key thing is having a broad understanding of it, so that you don't just think of the ones that come to mind at first, but that you can do a scan through and see the breadth of the factors, and also to recognise, and this is absolutely key, to recognise that recognising those factors, those external factors, is only the first step. There is no point in realising that there are things pushing against your company if you don't do something about them and analyse their impact and prioritise what you will do about them. Okay, so there is a simple acronym, PESTLE. It's also known as PEST, the first 4 letters, or PEST-C sometimes. Again, it's a very useful tool for scanning around. You'll use it all the time, no matter what area of your business you're considering. So if we're going to be looking at what's happening with the external environment and how it will impact on us, what we have to do with so many things, with your objectives as well, we have to have a way of measuring the effect, the external effect. For that reason, we have a certain number of external measures: market competitions, household incomes, interest rates, details about demographics, and environmental factors. So there are ways we can always measure these things. I can barely go through this chapter without mentioning that, of course, we're currently going through an unprecedented, I hate that word, never ever seen before experience for businesses where they have been closed up. Great many of them have been closed up almost instantly, while others are seeing huge demand rises. And this could never have been predicted even a couple of months ago. So we'll have to look out afterwards to see what shakes up. So, things that we can look at. First of all, market conditions and competition. It is natural that there will be flows in the economy. And you can see from the diagram the general pattern that the economy makes. While it will become demand will become over high and output will become over high. At a certain point demand will drop, and at that point you'll get a recession, so production needs to drop. If this goes too deep, this will become a depression, and then once there is enough of a depression and output is low enough, of course demand will outstrip production and the recovery will begin again. So this is one of the measures. Where are we in the economic cycle? What other factors influence demand for the product? So you've looked before, and we'll look again in marketing, at price elasticity. Some goods will change demand by price, some won't. The general thinking in your mind will be if you put the price of something up, fewer people will want it. But that depends on elasticity. Of course, tastes and fashions, wealth, and that is partly to do with the cycle, the economic cycle. Government can improve or increase or reduce demand for products by bringing in laws or adjusting its policies. Of course, the price of other goods. If you have a good that is cheaper than yours that could be substituted, that will reduce demand for yours. If a product that matches and pairs up with yours changes price, that may change demand. Of course, seasonality, demand for certain things goes up at Christmas. That's the obvious option. And the way that competition works against you. Just want to check here whether there is anything I've missed. Of course, in the market conditions, one of the measures of that is the gross domestic product. That is the amount manufactured within the country's economy. So gross domestic product, the higher the gross domestic product, the more the economy is producing and manufacturing, and that's seen as a positive thing. Another important value is real income in terms of demand for products. Real income is where you adjust the income value depending on inflation. So if your income stays the same, but inflation has risen, so if your income stays the same and your food shop each week goes up, then your real income has actually gone down. That's an important key term. And here we have a little bit more information about incomes. So this figure is very, very important, which shows different impacts on demand. So these are two sides of a seesaw, if you like. Demand will drop if interest rate rises because people will be able to borrow less, so they'll only want to live on the money they currently have. Falling incomes, of course, means that their money comes less. If people decide that they want to spend less because of concerns, where there is lower investment or where there is higher unemployment, and these are kind of a web. These all interact together. And of course the opposite has the opposite effect. And there's an important paragraph here which says that while of course people like low interest rates, when interest rates go lower, then humans being humans will ask for changes, for example, wage changes, things like that. So you have to remember that there's always a knock-on effect. Remembering that interest rates for consumers, for your purchasers, can have a huge effect, while in a country mortgages are often one of the biggest spends for each family, then a change in interest rate will have a huge impact on the disposable income, the money left after paying bills, and then their purchases of those extras will go down. And in the same vein, for businesses, where interest rates go up or expected to go up, then often their capital expenditure will change, i.e. capital expenditure being expenditure on machinery for a factory. So it may be difficult to make longer term decisions. Interest rates are another very important factor for businesses, and all different businesses will have a different amount of impact by exchange rates, depending on how much is exchanged between different countries and whether they are importing or exporting. I'll be honest, I find exchange rates, I just have to stop and think, I can never think, without having to do a quick calculation, whether a change in exchange rate is good or bad for imports and exports. So I'm really pleased to see here this nice little acronym: strong pound, imports cheaper, exports dearer. So that will help to remind me which way the exchange rate change happens. And this is a really good example. Exchange rates is a fantastic example for your business of considering that there are no simple impacts. It is very rare that there is one thing that has one impact on all companies. And this is the perfect example, because some businesses will have no foreign interactions. Everything will be entirely domestic. Others will be almost entirely foreign and international trade. And then some companies will purely be importing, some purely exporting, and some will be a mixture of both. So this is the perfect example of an external environmental impact and showing just those differences between businesses. And finally, people's behaviour and more broader impacts. So, of course, the demographics. This can be classed as it says here, any breakdown of the population. So by age, by sex or gender, ethnicity, occupation, wherever that split is, there will be a difference for different companies and different businesses and the impact. And you often will find the same demographic change can have almost opposing interactions depending on which side of your business you're looking at, whether you're looking at your staff side or whether you're looking at your consumer side. Of course, environmental concerns, and I wonder if in the next few years this will become even more important, certainly after these strange times. I wonder if that will become a bigger issue. And of course, things like fair trade, that's just one of the many key or political, I don't quite know the word for it, but the key groups where this has had an impact on, again, salaries, which adjust costs, but at the same time it has an effect on demand from the population. So to almost finish off, one thing I wanted to bring in was that I found a really interesting Open Learn course. This is a university related course. I'm putting up on the screen here. It's part of the Open University, and I found on this page for week 2 a really interesting discussion which you can run down, read through. I would make good use of that. As I say, this is part of a university degree programme and goes into more detail on the impact of external environmental factors. I'll put a link up for you. And my very last consideration on this is that on the one hand, this is possibly the simplest, one of the simplest chapters you will see. It is none of the things that I've told you, very, very little of this will have been news to you. All of this will be common knowledge to you. However, your role as a business analyst and as a business manager is for you to be able to discuss which of these factors will have the most impact on your business, which way that impact will be, and to look at your business both as a consumer of human behaviour and of humans, and therefore a consumer of people, i.e. you are an employer, and your staff will make demands on the one side in terms of their expectations for pay and work, and also another factor will be just who is available in terms of demographics, what population is there to employ. And at the other side, you have got to consider and analyse the impact of any changes on the environment on your consumers. So you have both sides to consider, and that is where the cleverness, that is where your skill as a business manager and consultant will be coming out.